Hello, everybody, and a good Sunday night and day or early morning, whatever time zone you are looking at. It is 4 p.m. Pacific time. It is 7 p.m. Eastern, all time zones in between and around the world. And we are bringing to you another Sunday night of my program. Thanks to Vanessa letting us be on Kardec Radio. Please tell all your friends about Kardec Radio. You can listen to Spiritist programs 24 hours a day. It looks like it's getting more and more people. I think we had, around, 6 people, parallel users all at one time. So this is getting up from almost zero. So it is starting to grow. Tonight, again, we are talking, as we've been talking about the last 11 weeks, we are talking about how to live. And this is all based upon a poem from Andre Luiz. It was 24 verses. And in my book, How to Live Inner Peace Through Spiritism, I take each verse and I try to expand it of what I believe it was meant by Andre Luiz and how to achieve it. Again, all of this is based upon the doctrine of Spiritism. I recommend everyone to read this book. This is your best book right here, the Spirits book. You can get this on the EDI-CEI bookstore. And of course, click on his picture on my website, nwspiritism.com. They'll take you right to the EDI-CEI bookstore. And you can get his book. I think it's only like $9. Oh, hello, La Souza. I think it's only $9 on the site. You can also, of course, get it on Amazon. Again, and then the other book I would recommend to everybody who really wants to understand Spiritism is The Gospel According to Spiritism. I mean, to me, this is very helpful because I went through, when I read the Bible when I was younger, a lot of things I didn't understand. I mean, I think I was too dense for the parables. This one explains, The Gospel According to Spiritism really explains the parables, and it's wonderful. Oh, Rosalind. Hello, Rosalind. So we're getting our people on. So again, I want to remind everybody, go to my site, nwspiritism.com. Tell your friends about my site. Tell your friends about our YouTube channels. Share this video for your friends. Share anything that I do on nwspiritism.com. Also on my Facebook page, Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. And you can get to that on Facebook. And also tell people about Kardec Radio because it's wonderful. And you can listen to programs like this on Kardec Radio and on Kardec Radio Facebook page and other programs besides mine, a lot better programs besides mine. So, okay, what are we talking about tonight? So this is the 12th verse by Andre Luiz in his poem, Inner Peace. And the stanza, these are all short stanzas, right? It's truth enlightened by love. Now, what does the spirit world mean by truth enlightened by love? Well, I think back. A medium sent my wife and I an intention to recite every night before we sleep. And it serves as a reminder of why we are here. This is what she wrote in consultation from spirits, and she sent that to us. The intention is, I pray for divine guidance and protection, that I may overcome any negative energy and become a clear channel of God's universal love and compassion for all beings. Awaken my mind to the true nature of reality, not bound by conceptions of good and evil, but allow me to see the truth as it really is for the benefit of all beings. Amen. To see the truth as it really is. So what does that mean? And I say that every night, and I ponder that. Later on, the medium, when she sent this message, she wrote us this. It is important to know, too, and it is covered somewhere in the New Prayers, that God is completely impartial towards his children. Even some of the worst offenders, people that generate disgust or fear in our eyes, are exactly the same to God as we are, equally loved and equally sought out as the Spirit draws them. They've only strayed further from the truth, and they will come back. It may take a long time, but everything in this life is a tiny blip in eternity. Even the worst offenses will be seen as nothing a billion years from now. That is God's perspective, and we need to work at making it our perspective as well, for the benefit of all beings. Over and over, I keep hearing this, that God's love is undivided, impartial, and not subject to change. Everything that is, was, or shall be is and must be for the benefit of all beings. Now, that is a wonderful message. And I think that is part of the eternal truth, is that we are all loved by God. And in doing so, we should emulate what Paul said in another Spiritist medium that was sent from Paul of Tarsus, is that we should consider ourselves to prepare ourselves for spiritual ascension. We should think ourselves as little gods, which means that we should love everybody, not as, in power and things like that, but as we should love and understand, right? And that's the truth. The truth is the worst people we see, and of course now, and it's the same as every, epoch is, there's always one fashion. Each country has its politics, or it has its team it doesn't like. There's always some reason to hate somebody, or a different tribe, or whatever. And we just have to get over that. We have to love everyone. That doesn't mean we have to, as I said many, many times before, we're not pushovers, right? If we need to protect ourselves or family and our country, whatever, it doesn't mean we let, anybody in or do anything they want. But it means that we should, even though we put someone, away in prison or keep them out, doesn't mean we don't love them, and know that at some point in time, they may be superior in love and wisdom than us, and probably will be than me. It's that if we're all in this path, right? We're all at different times in this path. And I think that is the eternal truth, is that God loves us all equally, because we are all on the journey for perfection. Now, it sounds so simple in a sentence, and the sentiment should be easily transferable to us, but it is exceedingly hard to put into practice. I am certainly not there yet. I still have preconceptions for some types of people: corrupt politicians, brutal dictators, terrorists, to name a few, right? It's like I have this feeling against them, and that doesn't mean that they're nice people or anything, but I should still love them, even though they have many faults, because after all, I had many faults. Who knows what I was in a previous life, right? Who is to say I wasn't one of those? I have, by love of God, been allowed to atone for a few of my wrongs, even though I have been told I have a lot to redeem. During a medium's meeting, I was told that in a past life, I was put in a position of power and responsibility, that I was expected to help guide those in my charge. Instead, I took advantage of them for my own benefit, right? I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to make money, and I used the people to do that. And it was said I did that over and over again. So I've failed many times. So how can I not love someone by recognizing them in my own life? Oh, Pernambuco, why'd you be there? So, so I don't mean to say that you have to embrace them and agree with them. None of that at all. You just have to, and this is a part about the truth enlightened by love. So you just have to know what the truth is. The truth is that they are on a journey, and they were put into that position of power as a test or as a mission, and say, okay, can you get absolute power and handle it well? And how many of us have done that? I know I haven't, right? I know I have not. So that's where we're in truth enlightened by love is, just think about, don't hate, understand, right? Understand. The problem is I have, and I have to help my own emotions about this, is that's probably why I recoil when I see a person of power who is corrupt. And probably that's, and I do that is because I was one of them. And now I know deep in my heart what a mistake that was. And so that emotion comes up, that primitive emotion comes up. Now I have no conscious memory of my deeds in a past life, just what was hinted at by spirits who communicate with me, and a feeling that what they said was true. So We all have to find our own way to the truth. We all have to mine our conscience to discern the path, to find the sparkling nuggets of the divine truth. Now, in this highly sophisticated world where reason and justification can be had for any action, right? Relative morality, something I just do not like that whole base of knowledge. I don't agree with it. I'll defend to the death people the right to say it and espouse it, but I do not agree with it. I do not agree with relative morality. We are given a base of truths, of morals in our conscience. And if you feel bad doing something, then you should not do it. Relative morality says, if you feel bad doing something, well, you shouldn't because some other culture does it, so it's okay. No, I don't agree with that. We all are given a conscience. So what I'm thinking is our cultural elites are trying to deny divine truth through the pathology of relative morality. We must reject that notion of the absence of a baseline of goodness. Each individual must search on their own for their own fountain of truth. And the spirit realm realizes that our task is not an easy one, right? It is not supposed to be. Only through strenuous effort do we find satisfaction and pride in the result of our work. Only then will our personal discovery be integrated into our very being. And only then will it become part of our personality. That is the most important. What do we take when we go back to the other side? Our personality, our character. The Spirit Emmanuel notifies us of the struggle in a message called Truth and Illusions. He starts with a quote from the Bible. Yet, because I speak the truth, you do not believe me, from Jesus. Now, this is what he says. The world has always loudly honored expositors of illusions. Nearly everywhere one can see the success of verbose persons who promise miracles and marvels. Their listeners usually give them a lot of credit, and they need only disguise people's infirmities, weakness, ignorances, or defects to receive their respect. The same is not the case for those who cultivate the truth, no matter how obvious it may be. Down through time, society has reserved burning at the stake, poison, crosses, and implacable punishments for them. In an attempt to avoid their anguishing spiritual situation, people invented fortune tellers. However, they expect these diviners to hide the dark and harsh reality behind a golden mask. The charlatan, who is most skillful at fabricating captivative lies, will enjoy the most numerous and lucrative clientele. In the interchange with the spirit world, it is crucial for new disciples to be aware of dangers of this sort. The tactic of praise, the eagerness to appear better than others, the temptation to stay ahead of others, and the longing to convert other people's consciousness are just big illusions. One must not believe in such things. It is more correct to grasp the effort of self-regeneration. Friends of the truth are not always accepted. They are usually considered fanatical or deceitful. But in spite of everything, for our own happiness, we must heed the truth while there is still time. He told us a lot. He told us that to search for the truth, we must start with ourselves. We must make the foundation of our character ready to accept it. While it may be easier to adopt the canons of another religion, sect, or charismatic leader, it will not be lasting. If we put a coat of paint over weak and rotten wood, it will still collapse, no matter how good it appears on the outside. The inside will be weak until we strengthen it. Therefore, to begin the search for the truth, one must begin with readying yourself. Only via introspection and requesting spiritual guidance from the other side, through meditation and prayer, will the door be open. And again, this is something I don't think I can emphasize enough. Oh, Matthew, could I ask something a little off topic? Have you heard of the Urantia book? If so, would one recommend it as a source of truth along with other spiritist literature? Now, I read the Urantia book, and it's very interesting. But I did hear, now I've asked for people to tell me exactly where they heard this. Someone in some spiritist meeting asked, was that book true? And the answer was no. So I would like so therefore I would say a lot of the concepts go with spiritism. But if you read like the history of Urantia and the history of the world, it doesn't add up. So I will just say that it's up to you, Matthew. It's actually a good read, and morality. It says a lot of good things, a lot of things I agree with, but there was not what I heard. Now that was just hearsay. I would like someone who knows more than I. If you've heard through other spiritist literature or spiritist mediums, what's your opinion? So I hope that answers your question on Urantia. So I think that's why I think if you really want to, the truth should start with this guy right here, the Spirits book. And then there's so many good books on spiritism. I would start reading all, the books by Chico Xavier, Divaldo Franco, and of course, Yvonne Piera, which she has, I think, only 2 books in English. Of course, Memoirs of a Suicide is like one of the best books I've ever read. She's fantastic. I get jealous of my wife who can read Portuguese. I can read a little bit, but not to enjoy it or really understand it, because there's so many more books in Portuguese. And that, of course, that's why I wrote my books. Is I took everything I could in English and what I could, what I could glean out of other books, and try to get those in English for you and show you, the Case for Reincarnation, Explore Your Destiny, about heaven and around. And of course, all the books that are English that are very interesting are all the books for Reverend G. Val Owen, which I did in my series of 3 books, Heaven and Below, The Spirits in the Spirit Universe, and How Spirits Guide Us, which tells you a lot, even more than what I've seen and read and heard in Portuguese, because what Reverend G. Val Owen told us really talks about the higher levels of heaven, what happens, the process, etc. So very interesting things. Psychologically, to really understand ourselves and so forth, Divaldo Franco, any of the books he did through Joanna de Angelis are very good reading. In fact, a lot of what I did in this book, How to Live, is and how to get to, and how to get to the state where we need to within each of his verses, comes from Joanna de Angelis. So anyway, so I went off track there, but thank you, Matthew. That was a good question, and I hope I have a better answer. Someone can supply it. So what were we talking about? Talk about Joanna de Angelis and all the other, Andre Luiz, of course, Chico Xavier, who psychographed stuff from Andre Luiz and other authors. The one thing they constantly say in the search for the truth is meditation and prayer. And of course, God at Home. And I think there's on Kardec Radio, there's and Facebook page, there's a, God at Home, I think, on the web now, which is great. But those times where you can connect to the spirit world, because remember, as when we get to a planet of regeneration, we will have a better connection. Right now, our connection is poor. We have to work for that connection. And to work for that connection, we have to meditate and pray. And do it, you have to be on your knees for all day. 10, 15 minutes to sit, relax, beginning of the day or the end of the day. One night a week for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, God at Home, where you go through the Spirit's book or the Bible or whatever you want to go through, will help you think and be enlightened from the spirit world. You'll get intuition, right? You'll get these ideas that will help you on your search for your own enlightenment, on your search for the truth. And it's amazing how many people, when you do that, you'll be guided to read books which will help you, listen to the advice which will strengthen you, and enjoy the experiences which prepare you for each step. I can't tell how many people send me an email and say, somehow I got your program, or I got your book, or someone told me about something. And you just know those were all that because they say things like, well, I've been searching for this for a while. Then all of a sudden I found what you did, or I found spiritist literature or something. Though they were guided by the spirit world. And once you open your heart for enlightenment, your spirit mentors and your guardian angel will use every device at their command to encourage your advance toward perfection. It's like the teacher. It's like the child in class may not be the brightest light like me, right? But they see they're really trying. That teacher is naturally going to help that child along as much as possible because their attitude is correct, right? They want to improve. The spirit world Jesus Christ, God, when they see that we want to improve, it's like they're going to help you as much as possible. So let's talk about the next thing is, to search for the truth enlightened by love. Let's talk about love. How do we get love? How do we get to that pure love? So let's talk about what love is and what Emmanuel said about love. So this is what he said about love. Pure love is the Creator's reflection in all creatures. Love shines forth in everything, and everything throbs with the same vibration of wisdom and beauty. Let me stop there for a second, because I think this is a key. Everything throbs with the same vibration of wisdom and beauty. And you hear that so much in the books, the Spiritist books, Andre Luiz, other books, is that harmony and spiritual vibration. I think that's really what we need to do, is get our minds in casting out primitive emotions, hate, envy. And this is why, this book, How to Live Inner Peace with Spiritism, because as you can do that, your stress levels go down, your vibrations become clear. And really those vibrations are what we are. The way that our knowledge and our own separate vibrations and our own separate harmony identifies us. And the more it's like the law of affinity, the more we can be at affinity with higher spirits, meaning that we don't have base emotions. We're not thinking about a crime at the time or, hating somebody at the time. We're thinking about love, and our vibrations improve. And what really is that not just improve, but they become, they're not going to be there exactly, but they become more in tune with the higher levels of heaven and the higher spirits. And when that happens, communication becomes easier. So let me finish what he says. Love is the very foundation of life, and justice is the basis of all law. Love sublimely manifests itself in the harmony of the worlds, exalting the glory of the infinite, just as it does in the forgotten flowers of the field. Through love shines the soul of all major religions that have existed in the course of civilizations, bringing systems of faith that sought communion with divine goodness. And in this same love is the foundation of every desire for solidarity amongst mankind. It is the divine plasma enveloping all creation, the very breath of God permeating the universe. Love is the silent hope of heaven, awaiting the evolution of all principles while respecting the decision of all consciousness. By virtue of this blessing, each creature is assisted on its own level. Now you may ask, after hearing what the Spirit Emmanuel said about love, why is there such cruelty on earth? Reread the part of this, re-listen to this part, while respecting the decision of all consciousness. It is God's will that we, his creatures, are given free will. Hence, we can choose to commit great evil, destruction, and murder, and chaos, right? We do all the time. The earth is full of this. And the ramifications of our free will are the trials we must submit to in atonement for our previous actions. Our successes and victories in our trials provide the key to enter the kingdom of heaven and bask in the warmth of God's love. Now also, Emmanuel and other spirits have sent us messages about the atmosphere of love in the spirit realm. But we have other witnesses. Numerous people have reported NDEs, near-death experiences, in which they have felt the immense joy of being surrounded by love. In fact, there are accounts of telling the person not to hug or get too close to the spirits, since the overwhelming surge of love will cause that person who's in the NDE to not desire to return to their trial on earth. This occurred even for people with children and other cherished ones on earth. Such is that lure of basking in love. The promise of love, all pervasive, is right in front of us. We only have to earn it by demonstrating our capacity to give love. And also, on a side note, when people have NDEs and they see these bright spirits, they think, oh, it's an angel, right? Because they see this kind of fuzzy outline, and it's so bright they can't really see it. What have we been told in spiritual literature is the higher the spirit, the brighter they are. Now, that's not inner brightness that comes from within them. What they say, it's the reflection of love that permeates the universe, the reflection is brighter because they are able to reflect more love, because they have love and it reflects it. And therefore, when someone has an NDE and they see, their sister or their brother and they look normal, right? They look like humans, right? And then they see this higher spirit and they're kind of fuzzy. That's because that spirit is higher and is reflecting more love. Again, we're also told in the different levels of heaven that, the law of affinity, if you're at a certain level, you can go below, but you can't go above. Why can't you go above? Well, it's very uncomfortable. If you try to go from one level of heaven to the next level of heaven, it's the light is too bright. You cannot, you're not spiritually accepted. You're not in tune. Your harmony is not there with love. So it's painful actually for you to try and get to that next level because you're not ready for it. It becomes like a whiteout because of the love in that level. But at some time, as you go from one level to the next level in heaven, and you take the education and you learn and you change yourself, you will be ready for it. So, truth enlightened by love. Now, we've talked about love. Now, let's learn about truth. Now, the process of creating a firm moral and spiritual foundation is not simple. Now, remember I said before, it was said that, you can't have this rotten piece of wood with a new coat of paint on it because it'll still break. It'll look good for a while, but the first time you step on it, it's gone. Now, in learning truth, our spirit mentors will assist us, but as in many things, we need to perform the heavy lifting. Not only must we swim against the tide of society, but even worse, or even harder, I should say, we have to struggle with our own ego. And the Spirit Joanna de Angelis, discusses the fights we have with ourselves as we strive for self-knowledge and spiritual enlightenment. This is what she says. The deluded ego seeks to survive by using innumerable mechanisms to escape reality and to express itself using different masks in order not to be identified. It disguises itself in interpersonal relationships, at times demanding towards others, at other times excessively hard on itself, projecting its conflicts or interjecting its unfulfilled aspirations. Subconsciously, the ego has a misconceived idea of itself. It does not have the courage to face reality, to overcome it when negative, or to improve it when favorable. Fixating on the illusions of conflicts, it is careful to appear conciliatory, the subconscious attitude of what it would really like to be, and with the appropriate appearance, expressing itself as a happy, fulfilled person. Due to the breakdown of ethical values in society, the fear of revealing oneself to others generate reactions and deceptions in which one seeks psychological rewards, always unfulfilling. Because the ego's foundations are shaky, the constructs of apparent well-being soon crumble, and the individual lapses into repressed anxieties and aggressions due to emotional transference for inner compensation. Joanna de Angelis always packs a lot. I mean, in paragraphs, and you have to read it, and then you have to dissemble it. And basically, what she's telling us is a house built upon a foundation of sand will soon collapse. When our self-view is influenced by what we see in the media, whether promoting a product to deliver happiness, excusing bad behavior in pursuit of pleasure, we hear that a lot, right? The end justifies the mean. No, it doesn't. The means justify the end. It does not. Well, get rich any way you can. If you can fool enough people, get rich. No, that's not the way to do it. So we can't excuse bad behavior, or we can't ape the actions of a popular film. None of these are the aspects of eternal divine laws. So once we tie ourselves to the flippancy of popular culture, we float with whatever tide or waves comes our way. We think we have something to hold on to, but it's all an illusion. That's why so many people can't find happiness or peace, because the goal is either unachievable, a complete fabrication by the talking heads of the media, or ever changing, right? It changes because there's something new comes along and someone wants to sell it. So how can one feel balance while standing on a cushion of air? This stress, this deep feeling of being unfulfilled and anxious is what causes a person to either lose their cool demeanor and lash out or withdraw further into a dream world and seek escape. Being in continual disagreement with your idealized self doesn't allow you to expand the energy to grow. The Spirit Joanna provides examples of what happens to people out of sync with their egos. This is what she says. There is a whole range of human attitudes that are far from being authentic, which result from postures that are opposite to their reality. Notwithstanding a few exceptions involving non-passionate or non-extreme idealists, most people who protest against something, whatever it may be, hide some conscious desires, which they repress due to a lack of moral value to express them appropriately. Puritanical individuals who keep an eye on other people's misconduct project the very inner state that they seek to combat in themselves because they are unwilling to combat it in themselves. Biting, persistent critics with clinical eye on other people's errors and miseries harbor personal insecurity. They have great contempt for themselves and make up for it by being aggressive. Have we seen that? This culture is full of that. Do you see where, these people on Twitter, they just attack people for no matter what they say, even though they have a right, they have free speech, they have a right to, and they just attack them. These are people who are not anchored into any type of firm foundation. These are people who just go with whatever Marxist theory, social theory happens to be out there and happens to be popular. Everyone's afraid of saying anything, right? Because you will be pummeled. You will be fired now. If you say something out of line, you will even be fired. I don't blame people for being worried. At work, I keep my mouth shut. I don't agree. I refuse to agree with people who say things like that. I'll just keep my mouth shut or leave. But it is a horrible cultural space we're in. Now, let me finish here with what she says. Those who usually identify themselves with pain and affliction and exaggerated and therefore inauthentic humility unconsciously externalize a paranoid state alongside an unquenchable desire to seek attention. That it just hits the nail on the head. I'll go on. Those who always rationalize every occurrence, finding justification for their own failures and mistake, actually fear themselves and have no emotional structure for breaking free of conflicts. Therefore, what is she telling us? Your foundation must be rebuilt. You must rebuild it upon constructs that are already inside of us. We have to rebuild it with our conscience as our guide. The supreme being, God, gave us a conscience to lead the way, but it can't do all the job. To remold your ego will take study and the installation of new habits. Now, how do we start that? How do we build a new self-view based upon truth? The Spirit Joanna, again, tells us that we should begin by relaxing. Talk to your friends openly and expose your strengths and weaknesses. As you open up, so will they. This will create a comfort zone where methods for improvement can be discussed. Don't focus on the failures of other people. Keep those negative thoughts. Don't gossip about things, right? If you need to talk about failures, concentrate on your own shortcomings and how you will create habits to rectify them. As you ponder on the positive and negatives, let your conscience guide you. It will rapidly identify which attributes to modify. Be truthful with yourself. Don't let your ego and id deny what you have done, right? And I'm still doing it, and I'm still fighting that, right? If you are unsure, usually because your mind is trying to rationalize some deviation from what your conscience tells you, stop thinking for a minute. Take a deep breath. Visualize your options. Which options make you feel better? Which options make you feel more relaxed? If you feel the stress lessen and more at peace for one option than the other, then you have found your answer. Your body is the best touchstone in the world. If you think, okay, should I do this thing and make a bunch of money and I'll have a new house and a new car, or should I turn down that job for that corporation that I don't agree with morally and do this other thing? What would make me feel more relaxed? And and you just know your mind is rationalized. Well, I need this money for my family. I need this. But, yes, you got to take the option that makes you feel less stressed. Even if the path you choose takes great sacrifice, it will be worth it. I know. I've tried it. I've wrestled with a promise made. I told a person I'd split half a windfall if it ever came to pass. But then my selfishness welled up and I thought, well, why should I pay out half? I'm the one getting the money. Why should I share with them? Already my yearning for money was overcoming my sense of keeping my word and belief in fair play. Finally, I stopped. I realized I was worrying about a possible future financial gain as if it would be the most important event in my life. Like when I was a child, waited days for a new bicycle to be delivered. The wait was interminable. My expectations were sky high. And after a few days of playing with my new toy, the excitement wore off, right? I had forgotten that anything material in this world is unimportant to building my character. I let myself calm down. I saw myself without the extra money, with half the money, with all the money. I could feel the harmonious vibrations come from forgetting about it entirely. So I made my mind up to divide what I got between my family and friends and take nothing. I felt better. I had defeated selfishness, one small battle. I could have only accomplished this by learning about and studying the doctrine of Spiritism, the knowledge that we are on earth for a purpose, to grow, to love, to be charitable, to be fraternal, to be honest, is what gradually replacing the holes and gaps in my self-view. And that's what we're doing, right? We're repairing the blemishes. We're taking out the bad parts, right? The primitive parts, not necessarily bad, right? Because our primitive emotions did good things for us when we were in tribes and trying to live and kill wild animals and eat every day. They were there for a purpose. Now it's time to shed off that, right? Become like from a child to adult. Shed off those primitive emotions. Don't hate, don't yell, don't get mad at people, don't want for revenge. You don't know that you don't have to teach them a lesson. They will be taught a lesson through karma, through reincarnation. Every action is a reaction. So what happens is that the truth, now my truth, that I believe is that we are on earth for a series of lives to follow the lesson plan determined by our spiritual superiors. They know best. I say that even though I constantly question the trials which come my way. I'm not by any means at the state I wish to be, but I know that I am pointed in the right direction. Myself, my work in progress is calmer, more relaxed, and less prone to outbursts of anger and resentment. I'm also less wealthy and successful in my career. It doesn't bother me. The truth has set me on the path to freedom. So, excuse me. Now, how do we combine truth and love? So the Spirit Emmanuel sent a message to a medium's meeting through Francisco C. Xavier about the need for truth and love during our many sojourns on earth. This is what he said. Although we effectively move towards the living light that is supreme truth, how many lessons until we reach it are actually necessary for us to be free from the shadows? Only love can safely guide us so we may learn the right path toward the eternal realities. All of us here on earth, incarnate and discarnate spirits alike, who are still bound to this planet, constitute a single family on its way to immortality. However, many of us may have already had or might still have need the support during our long evolutionary expedition. Some individuals believe that affection required violence to establish itself and fell into criminality, mutilating himself while attempting to do so to others. Others believe themselves strong enough to oppress the destiny of their brothers and sisters and strain themselves beyond their limits in excesses of power, scrambling the brain and wasting precious time during infirmity and in recuperation. So others contracted huge debts, enslaving themselves to complex situations for which they'll have to spend immense efforts to break free. And yet others deluded themselves with the idea of respite and happiness without a foundation of responsibility. And as a result, they have temporarily lost the ability to reason, going astray into the labyrinth of spiritual blindness. In reality, all of them are brothers and sisters, must be readjusted and healed before they may be able to continue with the journey ahead. However, to accomplish this task, it is not enough to shake them with condemnatory statements regarding the devastations and struggles they experience. It is imperative for us to dispense them care, assistance, treatment, and understanding. I'll repeat that. It is imperative for us to dispense them care, assistance, treatment, and understanding. So far on planet Earth, and generally speaking, we are much more like elementary school students or patients in an asylum than anything else. That's his quote. It might be impossible for us to accomplish a readjustment and acquire enlightenment without understanding and support. Emmanuel is telling us that the attainment of truth is a battle that must be fought over many lifetimes. Each skirmish sets the stage for the next encounter. Each victory allocates more resources to win the next. It is like going through school, right? If you're a third grader and you see what the sixth graders do, I can never understand what the sixth graders are doing. That's just beyond me. In seventh grade, oh my heavens. But the spirit world knows us, and they just guide us little by little. Each life, we say, okay, here's your plan. We're not gonna punish you for everything you've done in the world, right? And they don't punish anyway. We're not going to teach you. We'll decide the most important lessons, and we'll let you learn that. And if you've learned something that says, oh, you will never do that again, we don't need to go back and make you pay atonement for something you've done in the past. If you already understand that's not what you should do through some other method, right? Because it's the love. The spirit world, all the trials we go through, bad divorces, losing money in the stock market, right? All those things, they're not there for us to be punished. They're there for us to learn. It's just like a third or fourth grader. Oh, I'm taking this test. I'm being punished. Well, and you tell your kid, no, you're not. You're supposed to learn. You go to school, you learn. I don't want to hear that you're being punished. No, that's your responsibility. That's your job. The spirits tell us the same thing. It's your responsibility. It's your job. And that's why, again, you never think about suicide, because that is leaving school early. This is a wonderful gift we're given, the ability to reincarnate, to incarnate on Earth, and it's there for our benefit. And we're supposed to take care of this body, just like you tell your school child to put that book cover on that book, right? Don't mess up that book. Don't draw on that book. Don't tear out pages. Next person needs that book. Same thing with our body. We have to keep care of our body. We shouldn't smoke too much, take drugs, whatever. We need to keep ourselves in good physical condition, because that helps us go through our trials. And all of this is as we search for truth and internalize it, making it part of our personality, we gain sustenance in our trek with love. Love keeps us going. Love enables us to move forward without fear. And as we are sustained with love, so should we support others. Now, sometimes it's tough love. Sometimes it's very compassionate love. But we should support others. We should think about what they need, and not what they need at that point in time. It's what do they need on their trek for ascendancy, on their trek for immortality. What do they need? Do they need to learn this lesson? Because we all have had friends who's like, oh, I can't, why are you doing this? I had a friend with one bad relationship after another. Finally, I just said, okay, it looks like the spirit world wants him to learn a really deep lesson. And evidently, he needs to go through it time and time and time again. So now I just support him. I talked to him and said, well, that's too bad. You might want to learn something, but that's up to you. That's how we should support others. Sometimes we just have to let people fail. But we should always have a good and kind word and help people think about how they can be victorious next time. Everyone on earth is deeply involved in their own personal search for truth. Each approaches it differently, but all require love to make a sincere effort. When you think about our trial, this is what's so amazing about the spirit world, is that we are on our trial, And yet everyone else is on their trial. And yet things happen to us. And then we go through life and we cause things happen to other people. It's like this tapestry, very intricate. And every thread, you have to follow every thread, touches other thread through it constantly. It could be something as simple as we call up our nephew and say, "Oh yeah, we know about this car for sale at this place for, it's a good price." It could be something that we do that we've been inspired by a spirit to say, "Okay, well, yeah, that nephew needs a car, and this is going to happen," and then it's all these things are going to happen. When you think about how complex, that they have us going through this and spirits guiding us, right? All the time, giving us signs and signals. There's no fantasy novel I've ever read that is anywhere near the fantastic truth, right? This is truth enlightened by love. There's nothing close to the truth that we are so watched, we are recorded, we are tracked, we are guided, and we are always loved. Because in the higher spirit's eyes, we're practically, they love us, but we're immature and we're little screw ups all the time. But we can all, at some point, be much better, be perfect. So I want to thank everybody for our talk tonight. Again, go to my website, NW Spiritism. What I'm talking about in the last 10, 11 weeks and the next couple of more 10 weeks or so is how to live inner peace through Spiritism. How do you ascend? How do you change your thoughts? How do you change your mind? Tell people, share this video, talk, have your friends, please sign up for our YouTube channel or a BitChute channel. It's all on nwspiritism.com. And, and again, I just want to say on the Spirits book, if you don't want to pay any money, it's all on PDF. You can find almost everything on Allan Kardec on PDF. Oh, there's Jacob. Thank you, Jacob. We're coming in. So, it's all there. It's free. Look for Spiritist groups in your city. I know a lot of them don't have it. If you don't have one, try to start one, right? Just, get a book and put it up in the supermarket or the library or wherever, a little notice. Let's, start a little Spiritist group. So each little grain of sand will make a difference. At one, the spirits tell us Spiritism will become the doctrine. It won't become the religion. Other religions will take the doctrine and use it. Reincarnation will be known, et cetera, et cetera. So we are the tip of the spear, and it's not easy for us. But I bless all of you for listening tonight, and thank you, and God bless all. Goodbye.